Dear students, today we are going to discuss the next topic, the romantic imagination and national feeling. Firstly, romantic imagination. What does the term romantic mean here? Romantic means cultural movement to unite the people. Children, you have already studied the age of revolutions, how in the France, Belgium, Greek, the people they have revolted, and that time now the war has played a very important role and the territories were expanded there. But slowly, gradually, there was one more section of society which thought that culture is also playing a very important role in uniting the people. The people can be united, people can have the feeling of a nationalism through the culture also, and culture has played a very important role in creating the idea of a nation. Culture means what kind of culture can create the feeling of nationalism. This is simply your art, poetry, stories, music. They all can help the people to understand their common identity, and then they can fight against the monarchy or against the despotic rulers and can develop the feeling of nationalism. So we will be studying it that how the romantic imagination has brought the change in the society. So romanticism, as it is basically a cultural movement, now it has its work was to develop the feeling of nationalism, to develop the nationalist sentiments. Now those were the romantic artists and the poets. They simply said, or they simply criticized, and that is the glorification of reason and the science. They were not in support of the reason and science. Reason science means consciousness. So as the people, these romantic artists and the poets, they were totally opposing to the glorification, as it was being highlighted here to develop the nationalist feeling here. It is required here that we should use a science, we should use our consciousness here. So they simply denied this. And what they said here, that they focused on the other things. They, instead of the science and consciousness or the reason, they focused on the other things. What other things here? That they focused on the emotions, intuition, or mystical feelings there. They simply wanted to reach to the hearts of the people there. They wanted to just uh, they wanted to just convince the people that how culturally they are united here, how in a sense of a language they are united there. And in this way, their efforts was simply to create a sense of shared collective heritage, a common cultural past that should be the basis to develop the feeling of nationalism. Now we find that there was one romantic poet or the artist who was a German philosopher, and his name was Johann Herder. And Johann Herder, as he was a true German, he was a very associated with the German culture there. And what he thought, that he discovered that among the common people we can develop the feeling of nationalism through the folk songs or folklores, folk poetries, folk dances there. And that is only the true spirit of the nation. So when the people will unite themselves with the concept of their common culture there, with the shared culture there, then only the feeling of nationalism can develop. And he had used the word there, das volk there. Das volk there means common people of the society, or they are representing to the traditional way of life, custom, traditions, means the folk songs, folklores, folk dances, whatever the things were common among the people. That is a das volk there. In the same way, volksgeist, as he has used the volksgeist there, meaning is here, this is the true spirit of nation, that is the inner soul or the character of a nation. So this Herder, what he believed, that we can develop the feeling of nationalism through the your folk songs, folklores, folk poetries, folk dances there, and that is the common people who are going to unite themselves with the true spirit of a nation there. We also find here that not only these folklores, folk songs has only played, means culture has only played. In the culture also we find the vernacular languages has also played a very important role in the development of the nationalism, in the feeling of a nationalism. And how the this vernacular languages means regional languages. They, so vernacular languages, they were already the regional languages there. They had basically two objectives there. Firstly, vernacular languages, what were they doing? That they wanted to recover the ancient culture of the people there, those who were living in the Europe, and those were the romantic artists there, or the poets there. What was their aim here? Just to recover the ancient national spirit. And along with that also, they wanted to make the people aware through the regional language, those who are illiterate people there, how to influence them, how to educate them, how to send the message to them. So they had used the vernacular languages there. So vernacular languages had two objectives. One was just to recover the ancient culture, and secondly to make the people aware through the regional language about the feeling of nationalism. Those who were illiterate, so they had to be informed through their regional language there. And we can see this use of language basically in your Poland. Poland was basically was a state or a region which was basically divided, or it was partitioned by the end of your 18th century by the great powers of your Russia, Prussia and Austria. And when the Poland was divided there, after this, how to develop the feeling of nationalism. So Poland was no longer existed as an independent territory there. So how to develop the feeling of nationalism there? That time there was one poet whose name was Karol Kruspe, and he had just used the operas or the music there, or the folk dances etc. there as a nationalist symbols there. So Carol Crosby had used all such kind of things there to develop the feeling of nationalism among the people of Poland. We find language has influence to the people of Poland to a great extent there. When the Poland was under the occupation of your Russia, that time Polish people, they had used their own Polish language. What the Russian people did when the Russian occupied Poland, so after the occupation of the Russian over Poland there, Polish language was removed from the schools. The Polish people not allowed to speak the Polish language. They means people of the Poland, they were not allowed to use the Polish language there. The Russian language was imposed everywhere in the Poland there. But we find that the Polish people, they understood that if they have to develop the feeling of nationalism, if they have to fight for their nation, so in that case language can be a mode of weapon, that can also be a strong weapon to fight against the Russian dominance there. And the Polish people, what they did, that whenever they were collecting at the church, means at the church for the prayers there, so all the religious instructions were given in the Polish language only. In the same way, a large number of the priests and the bishops, when they were using the Polish language to give the instructions there to the Polish people in Poland, which was under the occupation of the Russia there. So the Russian government didn't allow that. And what the Russian government did, that the Russian government had arrested to a large number of the priests or the bishops, and they were sent to the jail, or they were sent to the Siberia. But somewhere somehow the Russian government, Russian authorities, they had tried to punish to all these people who were not ready to use the Russian language, and they were trying to use the Polish language. So this way what we see, that the Polish language was seen as a symbol of a struggle against the Russian dominance there. So in the culture or in the romantic imagination, we find that how the national feeling was developed there. Firstly, through your culture there. Culture means your folklore, folk songs, your folk dances etc. there. Second, the language also had played a very important part in the development of the nationalism. Now the next topic which we have, this is the hunger, hardship and popular revolt. So hunger, hardship, and popular revolt. How this popular revolt took place, and this is we are going to take the story in the year of 1830s. 1830s, and there was a great economic hardship was created in the entire Europe. And why this great economic hardships had come up there, for this few factors were also responsible there. Firstly, what happened, there was increase in population, and suddenly when there was an enormous increase in the population there in the entire Europe there, so what will the result, that the people they need more stomach were supposed to be fed there. At the same time, when population is high, the more job is required there, but the job is not there, it means that the unemployment was too much. So as there was the lack of jobs, due to the lack of job, now there was a lack of employment, or people were more and more unemployed there. At the same time, when the people were unemployed, what they did, they started migrating from the rural areas to the city areas, to the town areas there, in search of job. And the result was the cities and the towns were overcrowded, and the slums were found in the cities and towns there. At the same time, what happened, that the competition was there in the market here. Those were the small producers in the towns, they were facing a very tough competitions there with the import of the cheap machine made goods from the England. When the England was having the industrialization, especially we are talking in terms of cotton production, that is the cotton cloth there. So when the England was having the industrialization, at this time the machine made goods were quite very cheap. So those were the small producers there of the cotton. Now they had to face a stiff competition, or a very difficult competition with the British goods there. So this was also a reason here that why the economic hardships come up in the Europe. At the same time, we also find that there were some of the regions there where the aristocracy that was already enjoying their power there, and the peasants they had to struggle to pay their feudal dues or their obligations there, or the taxes there. At the same time, when the population is high, certainly there will be the shortage of the food were there, so the rise in the prices were there, and there was a bad harvest also, which had also acute the situation there. So what we get ultimately, that the year of 1830 was full of the economic hardships in the Europe there. And when the people were suffering with the lack of job, with the lack of food, with the lack of employment, when they had to pay a lot of taxes there was stiff competitions there. So people, their patience was totally burst. And ultimately in the year of 1848, as we see, when there was a widespread shortage of the food, and also the unemployment was found there, then the changes took place in the Paris. And what happened in the Paris there, that in the Paris, the people who were not getting the food supply, who were not getting the jobs there, these people, they had just they just removed to the Louis Philippe. You remember that when the France become again a constitutional monarchy, Louis Philippe was the head. So Louis Philippe was forced to flee there when the people they revolted against the Louis Philippe. At the same time, now these people of the Paris or the France, what they did, that they had formed again the National Assembly, and they proclaimed France as a republic. And it is said here that those people who are above, though all those male people who were above the age of 21 years, they all were allowed to cast the vote there. So this way the right to vote was given to all the male people who were above the age of 21 there, and they were guaranteed to have the right to work, and the national workshops were set up to provide the jobs to the people in the your France there. So this way changes took place in the France. At the same time, we also have a story or a case or an incident which is basically of a revolt of the weavers against the contractors. And this has happened in the year of 1845. That is, the weavers in the Silesia, they had just led a revolt against the contractors. And on June 4th, 1845, a large crowd of weavers, they emerged from their homes and they marched in the Paris, demanding for the higher wages. They were treated with the scorn and the threats there. Ultimately, now the event of the February of 1848 in the France had brought the monarchy to an end, and the France became a republic